Al,
Yes.
the games are coming out
Yeah, they are.
for now. Then they'll like probably that well will dry up a little bit, and then we'll be left being like, oh boy,
Yep.
where did the games go?
Where'd the games go?
Where did they go? But
But
for
for
now,
now.
we got some games
Yep.
that we're gonna talk about here today on the seasonal anime Checkup OVA.
Yup.
It's a podcast where we have conversations about video games, anime, and manga. Hello, I'm Jared, joined as always by Doc Al and Ladium.
Hello.
This is episode 223.
Whoa.
And we're going to talk about some games real quick
Yup.
for this week.
Mhm.
We got a free game.
Yep.
And we got a cooperative game.
Yep.
I mean, what more could you ask for? That's like the entire gaming spectrum.
I mean, you could ask for a lot of them.
No.
Or a lot more.
No, not allowed.
Wee.
Absolutely not.
Wee.
So yeah, these two games just came out in the last week.
Yep.
Yes. As the time you were hearing this from when we recorded it. If you're listening to this in the future, they did not come out last week.
Mm-mm.
They came out, insert number, weeks ago. You'll have to figure that out yourself. So we're going to talk about It Takes Two, the new Joseph Fares cooperative game. And also, hang on, we gotta make sure we get all of this here title.
Take a deep breath before you do it.
Love Live School Idol Festival After School Activity YY Home Meeting.
Sure, you're gonna love typing that one in.
Oh boy, am I ever. I mean, it's a title that makes sense. So, YY Home Meeting is the console port of After School Activity, the arcade port of Love Live School Idol Festival, the mobile game.
Yes.
Easy. It's easy.
Why?
YY. So I think we're going to start with that first.
Okay, that's easy.
Because that is the long title here. Yeah, so this is a port of the arcade version of School Idol Festival. A game that basically does not receive any more support because they put out their final update in November of last year and are like, oh, that's it. No more songs.
Yep.
This is a free download you can get. And is also in English, which is very surprising.
Yep.
Considering usually, I mean, the Japanese arcade game has never been put out elsewhere or anything. And usually you would probably think like, oh, this is just going to be a Japanese only thing. And that's going to be it. But then when they announced it, they're like, yeah, it's going to come out same day globally. And I was like, huh.
Yeah, I was shocked.
All right. Very interesting. So it is a free game. And by free, I mean free to play.
Yeah.
It's not in the same vein as like your School Idol Festival, the mobile version of the game, or School Idol Festival All Stars, where those are gacha games where you are basically building up teams, you're collecting cards and all that sort of stuff. This is more like, hey, do you want to pay to buy costumes, which you can grind out in game, so you don't necessarily have to buy costumes. However, the thing you really are probably going to have to buy are songs. It comes with 4 songs for each side, so you have to get 4 Muse songs, 4 Aqua songs in the free package. Then everything else is downloadable content that you have to purchase. There is no way to grind out songs or acquire items to get them that way, like you can costumes. They are strictly, you need to buy these in order to progress, essentially, if you want to play more songs.
And as soon as I realized that, I was like, all right, I'm never coming back to this game again.
You should have known that because they were very upfront about that being the thing from the very beginning.
I knew that it was going to be a situation where there were not many songs. I was just hoping there was some way to grind it out, and I was not paying attention enough, apparently.
Yeah. Like I said, they were very upfront of like, if you want to grind out costumes, that is totally a thing. You're going to have to buy songs. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. The song pricing is not great.
Nope.
It is, I think, $4 a song if you buy them individually, and then they come grouped into various packs. And there is like, I think, according to this wiki article, 127 songs that you can play in the game. That may be more or less. I don't know for sure. And that's spread across both Muse and Aqua. So if you wanted to buy all the DLC, like song wise for this game, you're probably spending like $200 to get all the songs.
It's insane.
So yeah, that is indeed a thing. And I think as well, like I think people could have a different idea of what this game's going to be like. This is very much just the arcade game. Like it is very much a port of that game where you are playing songs, you get to see them in 3D and all that sort of stuff, and that's basically all you get. Like there's no story mode, there's no real character interaction or anything like that. Like all of the arcade gameplay and abilities are here, where like you create profile cards, you use skill cards to do various things in your live shows and all that sort of stuff. It is the arcade game, 100%. This is what this is. They do a little bit here and there to make it kind of more accessible for console players, where there is a way to play the game where there's only like 4 to 6 buttons, or you can play the game with all the buttons if you want. Which honestly I found to be more enjoyable than the 4 to 6 button option, because I thought the 4 to 6 button option was way more chaotic than the arcade version. But also, like, I was playing the arcade songs on like the normal to lesser normal difficulties, so it wasn't as hectic and chaotic. I'm assuming once you bump it up to like the very hard difficulties, and like the difficulty you have to unlock by S ranking or getting A rank on the second to highest difficulty, is probably just ridiculous.
Yeah, I bet.
In a way that just seems kind of like really chaotic. But yeah, like again, it's kind of just a game where you play songs. There's not a whole lot to it in terms of like stuff that you can do. There are like events you can do apparently in the game, but it seems like they're only tied to like character birthdays, and there's not like events in the traditional sense that you would think of from Squad Idol Festival or All Stars, where it's like, here's a story event and you'll get some cards for it and all that sort of stuff. Like that doesn't seem to be the case. And the only thing you really seem to get from the birthday events is like a special title.
Oh.
So, also a lot of like the character titles are untranslated.
Yep.
So you're just like, I don't know what this says. Sure, I'll put it on my character. Yep. But yeah, it is a game that basically is kind of what you would expect if you were following along with what they had said. If you kind of come to this blind and we're just like, oh, cool, it's a Love Live game, you're going to be very blindsided by how much additional purchases you will have to buy.
Yeah.
I will say I bought some songs.
You did.
And it was still like only half of the song list. And it was a pretty penny.
Oof.
But honestly, I did get more enjoyment out of buying songs, because like playing the 4 songs over and over again did get very old real quick.
Yep, sure did.
So it gave me a little bit more variety of stuff. And I think like it is a game that looks real nice.
Yeah, it looks great.
It is cool to see like those characters in that kind of like environment and seeing them on a console game, when the last time a Love Live game was on anything other than a mobile game or in the arcade was the Vita original Love Live games, which those were from, I think those were made by the Project Diva folks, so they were a little bit different than any of this. So it's been a long while since like a Love Live game's been on console, so like it's cool that there is a thing like this out there. It's just kind of a bummer that like it's literally just a port of the arcade game, which is kind of just, it's fine for what it is, but like if you're looking for, story or like getting cool character stuff and all that sort of stuff, which I think the mobile games have proven to be like a kind of a good formula for the series.
Yeah.
Like none of that stuff is here.
Nope.
Which is unfortunate. So yeah, it is, like I said, it is a free game.
I would have much rather have paid full price for it and gotten some songs and then had like some of them as DLC.
Yeah.
But I understand that they're like, oh, well, we could sell this for $60 or we could sell it for $200.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like I'm not surprised either way, because like, I've played enough rhythm games where they will just sell a butt ton of DLC. regardless if it's free or you pay money for it. So like coming into this, like it's one of the things I'm just like kind of just accustomed to at this point. Like, look, I have a lot of Rock Band DLC.
Mm-hmm.
Like enough Rock Band DLC that it costs probably like 10 times as much as the actual base game does. So like I'm just used to this kind of thing. For other people though, like yourself, like you're gonna come to this and be like, no, this is a real skeevy model. I'm not gonna associate with this. Yep. Especially with the way those prices are. Like I think if the prices were different, like if these songs were priced around the same as like Rock Band DLC is, which is like $2 a song.
Yeah.
And then they'll come in bundles. Sometimes they don't really anymore, but they used to come in bundles where they would be a little bit cheaper. Like I think that would be a little bit less of a negative to this game.
Egregious.
Yeah. Like when you have to pay like $20 for like 8 or 9 songs, like that seems a lot.
Yeah.
A little excessive.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. So I S-ranked the 4 songs that I made the Jumping Heart costumes, and then I haven't turned it back on since.
Yeah.
I did make a great profile picture though.
You did make a good profile picture. It's also very skewed more towards Muse, because like obviously they had more Muse stuff to make in that game originally, the arcade version I should say. Like they didn't add Aqua into the game until like 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So they had like a good 2 years of putting Muse stuff in there. So there's a lot of Muse stuff and a lot less Aqua stuff. And also with the fact that like they have said like, hey, we're not making anything more for the arcade version. This is probably it for this game. Like they're not going to add anything else.
Yeah.
So that's also kind of just like you're like, there's also like there is a weird thing with this game where like you get login bonuses.
Yeah.
As if it is like a daily grind game, but like there's really no point to doing the daily grind for this game unless you really want to get all those costumes and everything. But yeah, I think there are cool elements to this game if you want to really kind of dive into it. Like I said, like it looks really nice. I think the live show viewer is a cool idea where you can kind of like pick and choose between camera angles and all that sort of stuff, and it just looks real nice and everything. But the business model that it's attached to and everything is just not good at all.
Nope.
And the fact that this is just the arcade game without any extra bells and whistles kind of makes it a little disappointing in and of itself as well, where it's just like there's just not a whole lot to this game outside of playing songs. I mean, if you're into that, like you are going to be real happy with this, like because there's so much.
You can afford to get more than 4 songs.
If you can afford it, obviously, and like there's enough like just difficulty options, so if you get real into the gameplay of it, like I think you will be able to find something enjoyable there.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're someone who's gotten real into like the mobile games and are like know how story focused those games are, like that's not here at all. Like you're not going to find that in the slightest here, and that's going to be another thing that's rather disappointing.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, like I think there's some good here. There's a lot more bad than good, I think, here, which is disappointing to say the least.
Yeah, I agree.
So there you go. Maybe we won't have to wait like another 8 years for another Love Live game, and maybe they'll make one that's good next time, or at least better than this, or it's just not an arcade port. But really, if you want Love Live games, get School Idol Festival, get All Stars. Like those 2 games, again, are free to play gacha games, which I mean come with their own set of caveats here and there, but like they're much better games than this.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, like the story of All Stars is like enough there to just go ahead and pull the trigger on getting it. It's so good. And
it feels weird to have to release a Love Live game in 2021 and it just be Muse and Aqua.
Yes, it does.
So yeah, there's that.
Yep.
That there video game. Let's move on to our other game we played.
Okay.
It Takes Two to make a thing go right.
Yep.
That's not the title of the game. It's actually It Takes Two. That's it.
We're getting
nothing
divorced.
Else. We're getting a divorce.
I didn't know that's what was like going on in this game.
I didn't really know that either until reviews came out, and then like there was a very strict like people were like, yeah, this game's good, and other people were like, this is a game about divorce, and man, this story sucks.
Well, I kind of know where I stand on that one.
So it was like, huh, that's interesting. So I was like very much a wait and see because I knew we were going to play it aspect of this. This is like we said, the new Joseph Fares game. The creative director behind A Way Out and Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. This is very much in line with A Way Out, where it is a strictly co-op game only, where you cannot play it by yourself, or that's it. You have to have another person with you.
Yep. It has local and online co-op.
It does have local and online co-ops, which if you wanted to play it, the best way to play it would probably be locally, so you don't have to deal with EA servers.
Oh god, that was a mess.
That was a mess. Yeah. But let me see if this development thing has anything about it. Let's see here. After releasing A Way Out in 2018, the team decided to create another co-op only video game because it had a more experienced and refined team, and the team felt that they could further improve and expand the gameplay concepts introduced by A Way Out. The development team worked to ensure that the gameplay had connection with the narrative, and that as the story unfolds, the game's mechanics will change accordingly. Fares pushed his team to include as many mechanics and set pieces as possible, since he believed that if a gameplay mechanic is used repeatedly, it will become quote-unquote less special. And then Fares described the game as a romantic comedy.
Sure.
I don't know if I would agree with that.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd agree with that either.
Yeah. This game kind of really feels like it's a mix of like Disney Channel family friendly we gotta bring the family together type film mixed in with like a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids film.
Yes, it does.
Because the main kind of plot point is that like obviously you have the two main characters of Cody and May. They're getting divorced, and their kid Rose does not want them to get divorced and gets real sad, and her sadness turns them into dolls.
Via a book of love.
You have to basically traverse through the house and like other aspects around the house to find your way back together.
Yeah. I mean, originally the goal is, hey, let's get back to Rose so that she can get this curse off of us. And the book is the book of love is just constantly saying like, no, you must get back together and love each other. And they're like, no, we're good. Thanks.
Yep.
And then after you commit murder, things start to change a little bit.
You do commit murder. I will say, like, I think gameplay wise, this game really holds up. Like, it's a fun action platformer.
Yeah.
There's a lot of variety in it. So this might be a weird comparison. It felt almost like reminiscent of when we were playing DKC.
Okay.
With like how much just like variety was in it, and how much like weird set pieces were in it, and like how each set piece was like very different from each other. So like Ferris talked about, like, you know, there's a lot of like differences there's a lot of variety in the game. So like you don't really have the feeling of like, oh, we're reusing the same thing over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
They really hit home with the thing. One of the things I really liked in A Way Out were like there was just these weird cooperative games that were like tucked away in corners that you could go do. Like they fully like just blow that up to where like every set piece has like 4 to 5 of those on average, of like, you know, here's a little mini game you can do together and compete with each other.
Yeah, you're better at them than I am.
We played chess for 10 minutes.
We did.
I'm just gonna say that.
I lost.
That was one of the things.
But there's stuff like there's like an arcade game, and there's volleyball, and musical chairs. There's like icicle throwing.
There's a rip-off of Atari's Combat.
Oh right, there is a rip-off of. I won that one actually.
You did.
I was surprised. There's
a long jump competition where you jump out of a swing.
That one was really funny. Because you're like, oh man, I got momentum. I'm going to wreck.
Blop.
And then you just kind of like fell down like a wet
fart.
And I went, whee! It was great.
But like, there's just a ton of those, and like, it's a good way to kind of just like break up the flow of the game and just kind of give you something to do.
And
And
something to look around for too, so you explore more of the world.
yeah, and like most of the mini games like don't really overlap with each other, so like it's usually something new
Yeah.
each time, which is really good, and also kind of fits the set piece that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that's good, and like I said, like I think the game controls fairly well. You get like a bunch of different abilities for each character that are dependent on what set piece you're in, and all of those feel rather different from each other. So you're getting some wild abilities here and there.
And it makes for some clever puzzles too.
Yeah, it makes for some clever puzzles, and there's a lot of good just like, figuring out what you need to do with each other and working together to make sure you do the right thing and all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of that
Like I was so
within this
proud of
game.
us when we figured out the whole thing with the magnet where we had to stand on each side of the thing. We're like, oh God, why can't we figure this out? And then we finally did. It was like, yeah, I'm so proud of us.
And there's also like some liberties this game takes where it's like, do you want to do like an overhead Diablo like for a little bit of this game? And it's like, cool, I will do this.
That was so good.
There's literally a part where you just go down Rainbow Road.
Yep.
And one of the characters is like, this reminds me of something.
Well, and even if you fall off the level, like the book like pulls you up and then puts you back down on the course, like the what is it, Lakitu?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Lakitu.
Lakitu. Like it's exactly like that. It's amazing. It's really, really funny.
Yeah.
There's also just a Way Out reference.
Yeah. You find like these dolls of the two characters from A Way Out, and they will just talk to each other.
Yeah, you just.
And then they also reference that they're dolls.
Yes, it's fantastic. When we found
really
that,
good.
it was amazing. Who got those dolls for the daughter?
And then also they basically reference the game again by doing like, you get locked in a prison and you have to move the toilets out of the way, and they just like move out of the way.
Yep, it was real good.
It's real good.
Real good.
Apparently there is an Easter egg in this game.
Oh.
I think hitting one of the space levels where it is the Joseph Ferris the Oscar speech.
What? How did we miss that?
I don't know, but apparently that is a thing. I saw Jeff Keighley tweet about it.
Oh
I was like,
man.
oh my god.
Oh man, I gotta go see that when we're finished with this.
But yeah, like I think gameplay wise, this is a really fun game. Like,
oh, not to mention the freaking fight of the squirrel on top of the
oh my god, yes, that
airplane.
ruled. There's a part where you have to fly. One of you is flying an airplane. The other person is on top of the plane, and they have to fight a squirrel as if it's a fighting game.
Yep.
Or it's the end of Death Stranding.
Oh no.
Like that part was really good. Like there's a lot of just good like just video game references scattered throughout this thing.
Yeah.
Of like just callbacks or just like straight up being like, oh, we're just gonna ape this style now. Like it's all really good
Some
and
good
really
love
enjoyable.
letters.
Yeah. Like I think this team just knows how to make cooperative games now,
Yeah.
and are really able to nail it in a way that like a lot of people aren't really doing in the industry right now. And it's like it's a good thing as well. Just like more people need to make cooperative games because they're so good.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I think the thing where the game kind of falls apart
Yep.
is the story.
Yes. I agree.
Because it's one of those things where like we talked about how some of the influences of outside video game media we kind of think that this game is like, the story basically kind of goes in that same direction.
Mm-hmm.
And it is one of those things where you kind of see on the outset, like at the very beginning, like this is I don't want them to go this way, but this is probably the route they are going to go with this story.
I was just hoping the whole time they would not go that way, but they did.
They definitely did. It is a bummer. I guess since we are talking about it, we will dive into spoilers for this here video game story.
Yep.
Because it is very, very new. So if you don't want to hear those, fast forward a bit until the end.
Ooh.
So yeah, like we talked about, like this is the main characters, Cody and May, they're getting divorced because they just, they're not working.
Yep.
Working as a relationship. And then their daughter Rose is very sad about it because, oh no, my parents are breaking up. No.
Gotta go cry over my dolls in the book.
My dolls that I made, like they look like my parents.
In the shed. Even though neither of them look like her parents.
No.
Like Cody's blonde clay man and also like thick.
overweight.
Yeah,
May's got like a top bun, glasses, blue hair. This kid took liberties.
mini liberties.
So yeah, basically that happens. The parents get turned into dolls. They learn from the Book of Love, which Rose, their kid, just like found. It was like, oh, I need to learn how to make my parents not be divorced. Book of Love. So the Book of Love is basically trying to repair their relationship. Now, I will say this: I've never had to deal with a divorce,
Same.
so I don't know the ways that works, the ways that will affect the kid or not, or whatnot. I'm sure that if you went through couples therapy for people who may be thinking about it, like that could fix it for them.
Potentially.
That could fix their relationship. But also, sometimes people just don't work together.
Yep. And that's okay.
Fine too. This game seems to think, man, if you are thinking of getting a divorce, you're a piece of
Yeah, it does. And it's a bummer because like they just really don't work well together. And like I said, that's okay. They could be separated and still raise their kid and everything be fine. I mean, like, yeah, they probably should all do family therapy at some point because divorce is not an easy thing for a kid.
No.
I've never gone through a divorce, but I have gone through some weird shenanigans. So, like, therapy is important. It is good. But I just don't like the whole idea of like we must stay together no matter what.
Right. I know I saw some people on Twitter who were like, I was a child of divorce and I saw the premise of the way the story is going and just immediately was rolling my eyes.
Oh,
so,
man.
Take that for what you want to gain out of those kinds of statements. But yeah, it just feels very heavy-handed at first, like just like beating you over the head, like, oh no, we got to bring these two back together. We got to bring these two back together. Where you and I, when we were playing this, are just like, I think they're good by just staying apart. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing.
Like I was telling you, they can collaborate and they can be friends and they could raise their kid and like be cordial without like being romantically involved.
Mm-hmm.
And that is okay.
That's fine.
Like I could definitely see these two, especially after the events of the game, being friends if they went a different way with the story. Like I could definitely see them saying, okay, we don't hate each other and we can raise our kid and like we can work together. We're a team, even if we're not that kind of team.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think that would have been really good.
Yeah.
I don't think there's enough stories like that out there.
No, I think, and like I said, like I think with the way they kind of try and frame the story, where it feels like one of those Disney, like, oh, the family's messed up, we got to bring them together type movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just follows that kind of formula beat for beat, essentially.
Yeah, it does.
Where the parents have to work together. They work together for some reason through extraordinary circumstances, and then they find out they're okay again. Whoa.
Minus the murder.
Minus the murder. I don't know. There's probably some Disney movies where there's murder.
Do the parents murder though?
You never know.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I don't know.
Rick Moranis probably murdered someone in Honey, I Shrunk Ourselves.
I've seen that movie. I can't remember him murdering anybody, but
It's been a very long time since I've seen that movie.
It has been a long time, so maybe he did murder someone. I just don't remember it, but not only did we have to murder somebody, we tortured them and murdered them in a very horrific way and very drawn out manner.
Yes. So this is one of the things I learned through one of the reviews. Like this was a scene that was coming up, and I was like, that seems real weird.
Oh no.
And then once we got to it in context, I was like, oh wow, this is real f***ed up.
Yeah. What did
in a way that I wasn't expecting. Do what?
What did the review say?
It just basically kind of outlined what the scene was.
Oof.
Of like what happens in it.
Yeah.
So like I basically knew what was going to happen in that scene. But even still, with the context of it, it was just like, this is.
I felt terrible the whole time. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to participate in this.
So for context, eventually, like you start out in like this shed that's like outside of their house, and eventually you have to make your way back to the house. And one of the ideas that they get is that, you know, if they make their daughter cry again or and cry on them, it will reverse everything. They'll stop being dolls and they will get back to their human selves.
Yep.
So they decide, we really need to make our daughter cry, so let's just kill her favorite toy.
Mm-hmm.
So that leads you going through like this whole castle sequence and everything.
Which
and
the castle sequence is super cool.
Yeah. You eventually find your way up to the top of the castle where this toy is a toy elephant that they've made the queen of this castle and everything. And the two of them basically have to trap this elephant and murder it. And in the process of doing so, rip off one of its ears.
And its foot.
And one of its legs. And then basically hold it over the edge and just let it drop and die.
Yeah. It's real messed up.
It's very messed up.
Like, she tries to go through an escape hatch, like a rocket, basically. It ends up in a claw machine. So you claw machine her out, drop her, and her leg gets stuck in the claw machine door. So you rip her leg off, and she's like in pain because you're ripping her leg off. And then like you're trying to drag her over to the edge, and at one point, I don't remember what happens, her ear gets stuck on something.
Something falls on it, on the ear, essentially.
And they're like, oh, we got to keep going. So they just like keep pulling her until her ear rips off of her head. And like she keeps trying to fight you off, like by blowing you with her trunk. And so like the whole time it was like, we're awful people. We are awful, awful people, because like you have to continuously keep dragging her to the edge until you murder her.
And they're very content with this.
Yes, they're very fine with it, and they never bring it up again.
No.
Like they don't acknowledge like, oh God, that was a terrible thing we did. We made our daughter cry for nothing, and we murdered her toy who had sentience. And like it's just never brought up and acknowledged ever again. I'm like, several times while we were playing after that part, I was like, hey, you know, we murdered somebody, right?
Yep.
Yeah. We definitely did. I was like, neither of these people are good people.
No.
No.
They're just traumatizing their kid.
Yeah.
For no reason.
Yeah. And the kid's already going to think the house is haunted now.
Also, the kid's real dumb.
Real dumb.
Because she just keeps going around to like, so like the parents are like in reality are just like passed out.
Yeah.
And she keeps going like, oh, Dad, I wanted to talk to you about the Force. Oh, you're asleep. Okay, I guess I'll go away and never talk
Guess
to you
you hate
again.
me.
Hey, Mom, I found my cool space baboon. Don't you like it? Oh, I guess you're asleep too. I guess you hate me. Oh, I'm sad.
I'm gonna run away. Yeah, the moon baboon. Evil. Actually, you know what? Moon Baboon was evil, but Moon Baboon also was trying to protect her from
us
making her cry. So Moon Baboon
had the right thing going on.
had the purest of intentions. Good job, Moon Baboon.
We didn't.
We did not. We were completely selfish the entire game.
Yes.
Like I feel like we really learned nothing by the end of it.
No, like, so you keep going through the entirety of the game. Eventually, like I think after the castle part, you find this letter that Rose writes to you guys, and you're about to read it, and the book comes up and tears it up, and it's like, oh, you gotta split it up into 4 pieces. You gotta find all 4 pieces, and then you'll be freed. You'll have figured everything out. Essentially, you'll have repaired your relationship, and then through the 4 parts of the letter sequences, you go through different set pieces and everything, and they basically kind of like are reflections of past things that you had done in your relationship. Mm-hmm. Like there's this whole thing in the snow globe where like you go like, oh, we went to this ski lodge and everything. Oh, this is where I proposed and everything. So we got Christmas gifts and everything. Oh, look at all those things to remember. And then like the final parts of the game are like, or the book basically trying to give each character like a way to relight their passion that they had. So like Cody wanted to be a gardener. He had the greenhouse and everything. Then eventually he'd stop doing it because he felt that May wasn't encouraging him and just didn't really care about it. May used to sing and everything, and then she just, I guess, got self-conscious and stopped singing.
Well, and she also said that singing didn't pay the bills, so she ended
Yeah,
up having to get a full-time job while
her
Cody
like
was like
workaholicness just kind of pushed that to the side.
yeah.
So like you basically have to go through both of those and like see them like, oh yeah, I could do this again. And like the Rose or the May part is very weird because like the entire time she's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
Mhm.
I don't want to do this. And then gets up on stage, does it, and then everything's fixed magically, and they love each other again.
Yeah. And
You're just
like
like,
they've been against the book the
what?
whole time, and during that, Cody's like, "Yeah, I'm on the book side. You're gonna sing."
Which like I don't know if it was like, oh yes, because I know our relationship's going to get fixed, or is it just like I'm going to work together with the book so we can get this last piece and get the fuck out of here? Because it could go both either way, essentially. Not that either way really helps us determine like, oh man, they really learned something here, or the story really told us something.
Right, like there's no real character development or reflection at all on like why should we make this work?
Like the only things you kind of get is like near the end they start to be like, oh man, you know, those things were real fun together and everything. But even then, like that's not a reflection of like we're really fixing our deep-seated problems with our relationship of like what was really breaking us and everything.
It was more we had fun together at
You remember we had fun together? Yeah, okay, cool. They
like,
could say that and that would be okay.
yeah, there's just no real reflection on like, oh God, I actually should have really done something different in this, or I really acknowledge that like this was a bad thing that I did. Like I need to reconsider how I am in this relationship in order for this to work. It's just like, no, everything's fine.
And also like you could have the whole like, hey, remember when we had fun together type thing, and they could be like, oh yeah, we should do that more often as friends.
Yeah, like
And that would be fine.
there's the moment at the ski area where they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take her to this park, and then May says, oh, and I'll take her afterwards, double the fun. And like they could go together even if
Yeah,
they're
there's nothing
not
wrong with that.
together.
Right.
Like it's like I don't get the impression at the beginning that they hated each other. They just weren't
It just didn't
compatible
work.
romantically.
No.
And that's okay.
And that's fine. Yeah. Like there's nothing about this game, and like especially the last couple sequences where like, oh, we found our different passions that we like, that makes me think like, oh, well, now they found their romance again. Like nothing
No.
about that makes it seem like, oh, now they're going to be
Everything's gonna
good
work
and
out
good.
now. Like I have
Yeah.
a feeling if this game were to continue, they would be divorced for real in a year. If not sooner.
It is very much a Disney Channel, man. The family got back together. Everything's fine. Happily ever after. We'll never talk about this again.
Rose ran away. It's fine.
Rose ran away at the end.
She has a sandwich and a lollipop.
She's like, oh, man, I guess you're getting divorced because of me. I got to go run away now to the city. And it's like, what?
I have
What?
bus fare.
What? Who thought this was a good idea?
Yeah.
Like, this is so much unnecessary drama for the way this game is ending. And then they're like, oh, no, I guess we're happy again.
Oh, we're gonna keep the book of love. Yay.
That the kid found in the garbage.
Garbage at school. There's really a lot to like here, and the thing that is not to like is the narrative.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because I think A Way Out had a much better narrative and didn't have this many problems.
Yeah,
like
I
I think it's easier also as well to just write a crime drama than it is to write a romance drama
or a romantic comedy if that's what they were actually aiming for.
Yeah. Like I feel like this relies too much on just like family movie tropes
Yeah.
that it just doesn't really stand out on its own and really any merit or really just say anything
Yeah.
to really be worthwhile in the slightest, which is a bummer because like you said, like there is a lot of good to be had here. Like I think a lot of the gameplay aspects of this game are just really good and just,
Really good.
the cooperative nature of it really good. But it's also marred in with like just this narrative that just isn't good. And the whole time we were just like, this is going in the way we think it's going, and it's not going to be great.
Yep.
Should go the other way.
Yep.
And
Also,
that's
we're terrible
unfortunate.
people.
Also, we are terrible people.
It is worth mentioning that this game is pretty glitchy.
Yeah. We did have one issue where like we couldn't play because the servers were down.
Yep.
I don't know how long that lasted. We just basically went and played something else in the meantime. But there was an instance of that. I don't know how often that will be an occurrence for people, but it is worth mentioning. And then we just had some weird issues scattered throughout, where just like, we did a mini game together, and the mini game basically gave both of us different ideas of what it wanted.
Yep.
So it just completely kind of weirded out there. There were times where I'd get stuck in the environment a few times, and
I got stuck in the environment once too.
Yeah, you got stuck in the environment as well.
There were many times that like the feet just wouldn't move on the characters. We would just like skate along, even though it was just a regular floor.
Yeah.
You said I was T-posing at one point.
Yeah.
And which is another thing. There was that one boss fight that like I was having to fight the boss, and you're like, "Yeah, you're just running."
I
think
that was internet stuff though.
You think so?
Yeah, because I was having not great internet times that night.
Oh, okay. Well,
so I think that's less on the game, more on my internet.
That was also bad. I was like, I'm in a boss fight. And you're like, no, you're just standing there.
You're just floating in the air, and I'm just walking around.
So yeah, the glitchiness of it, I was like, that's not great, but
But that's something you could think that they could fix in the time being, because like obviously we played this in the first 4 days of its release, so
yeah.
Not everything's going to be perfect or fixed or anything like that. So like that is a thing where potentially down the road
they did have a lot of QA people though.
Patch that. Yeah, that was a lot of QA people in that in those credits. Like I don't know if that was just for this game or it was just like all of EA's QA department. Like it was weird.
I've never seen that many QA people listed in a credits sequence ever.
There was at least 50 people in that QA team.
Yeah.
That's so many compared to what you usually see in games, which is, another problem with game development. But that's entirely different story.
That's a whole different story. But
yes.
Yeah, I mean, as we've mentioned, there's a lot to like here. It's just a bummer that like the main part of it that drives everything is not good.
I think if you just go through this and ignore the story, like you will find an enjoyable game here.
Well, you're still gonna feel really uncomfortable when you murder somebody.
Yeah. I would say as well, I think if you compare this to A Way Out, like I think this game is a little bit longer than it needs to be.
Yes, I agree.
Where like this game I think is definitely like probably a good 5 hours longer than A Way Out was, if that. And there were just times where I was like, this game is the game's feel long. Like we got like around the halfway point, I was like, I feel like we should probably be like getting ready to wrap things up. And it's like, no, we're like halfway through. And I was like,
Yeah, I think that there were too many pages to that book. Like the 4-page sequences, like I think there was just too much there.
Yeah, I think though at the same time I'm like, what set piece would I cut out of this game? And I'm like, I don't know if I really would want to cut out one.
No, like the easiest one to cut out would be the tree one, but I don't want that one cut out because the squirrel thing was super fun.
Yeah, I think you could probably like cut down some of the like the like just the stuff you do in those levels.
Yeah.
Like just edit those a little bit more, and I think that would be better. But like, there isn't really a set piece that I would be like, man, you could get rid of this, because I think they're all so different from each other and unique that like it just really accentuates the game in that way.
Yeah. I think we could have cut out the orchestra part in the collecting the orchestra bit.
Yeah, that one was just kind of like you get in, you get out, which I think is kind of helpful at least. But I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you there.
It was fun though. Like the gameplay of it was fun. There was a lot of mechanics that were fun.
Yeah, I had a really good time playing this game with you.
Yes, I had a good time playing the game, even though I was mad a lot because I knew where it was going.
Yeah,
Or just didn't like the characters because like you're awful. But I mean, like I got to have a fire sword, and that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
You got to be an ice wizard.
You got to shoot like matches at things.
Yeah, I did. I got to be a pyro. You're like, oh god, they gave the fire gun to the pyro. I was like, hey, 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 time to explode everything.
Yeah, that was cool.
It was real cool.
The story was just not good.
Nope. Nope.
It Takes Two. It's the Donkey Kong Country 3 of modern video games.
I think that's valid.
It's a lot of variety in the gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
Different set pieces scattered throughout the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just kind of, you can ignore the story.
One's a bigger guy. One's a lady.
And then there's one that just kind of gyrates.
Yeah.
I would say that's Funky Kong.
I would agree with you that that's Funky Kong.
So there you go.
And I don't know who the stupid kid would be, but God, our daughter was
Donkey
dumb.
Kong.
Donkey Kong's like, I'm running away.
And we're
I
just like,
have
what?
a lollipop.
Why? No, get back here.
Also, the bus stop was conveniently right outside our house.
Very convenient. So yeah, like I would say this is probably like 10 to 15 hour game.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was an hour count or anything.
I didn't see one.
Also, this does do the thing that A Way Out does, where you can have one person buy the game and your friend, if you're doing this online, the friend just downloads like this friend pass thing where they get the game for free. You can play cooperatively together through that. The other person who gets the friend pass can't get trophies or anything, but you can play the game together without buying the game twice, which I think is just a very smart thing.
It's very, very smart, and I really appreciate that this group does this because like that's a cool feature. And I think that it makes it a lot more accessible for people to play, that like if their friend, when you're making a game like this where it has to be co-op to play it,
you need to do things like that.
You need to do things like this or else people are just not going to play it.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool, and I appreciate that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I was very glad to see that was the case this time. When I got the game, I opened it. I was like, oh, sweet. So I sent you a picture. It's like, look, we can do this. Yay!
Yay!
Since last time you bought A Way Out and I did the friend pass, this time I bought the game and you did the friend pass.
Like I said, I think that's just a smart thing to do.
Very, very smart.
This is you can only play this co-op, so why bar people from playing your game?
Mm-hmm.
So, again, I think like we said after we played A Way Out, I would play another game from this team.
Yes.
Hopefully the story's just better next time. Yeah. But like I think gameplay wise, they have really found their groove.
Yeah, I agree.
In terms
with you.
of making just tight
fun
cooperative
to play
gameplay.
Games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really impressive in an industry that kind of just doesn't make a whole lot of cooperative games anymore.
Also,
in this kind of nature.
Also, they recreated the guardhouse in Ocarina of Time entirely in this game, and it was amazing.
That's right.
That was super funny because we're like on a paddle boat at one point, and we're like paddle, 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 paddle. I was pressing the button a lot, and you're like, you don't have to do that. And then we went into this like cuckoo clock type area. I was like, I wonder what's in here. Open it, and I was like, oh my god, this is the guardhouse from Ocarina of Time. Like, it has all the pots in there. It has the crates in the exact same spot. It has a guard in the spot where he would hang out. Like, it's
you break the pots and get rupees.
You do. You get rupees.
They don't make the sound because obviously they cannot do that.
No.
But like, close enough.
It was amazing. It was so cool. Like, that's a clever nod. And like, the trophy name for it is hilarious because it's just like piles of Zelda references in one sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Made me very happy.
And I think as well, like if you're going to make a game that like has this kind of like the art style and just like the aesthetic that it has, like it is very much a good fit to just like you can cram as many video game references in as you can, because like it just fits.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw the trophy like name and sentence. I was like,
Yeah.
huh, that's a Zelda reference. I wonder what that's going to be about. Didn't expect there to actually be a recreated set piece Zelda in there.
Yeah, that's very wild.
It was rad. It's like, huh, so this is what Ocarina of Time would look like if it were in 3D, but also with weird little like 3D nice looking. Because it is that game did not age well. It's
This is
not
what
very
Ocarina of
pretty.
Time would play like on a good controller.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but that was neat. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
really good at making co-op fun games.
Yeah.
Just work on that story.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that's gonna wrap this episode up. Unless you have anything else you want to say.
Nope.
Okay. Cool. A little bit of shorter episode this week, but it is what it is. You can go and get on about your day in a much quicker way. Do that. Also, you could probably like listen to the podcast, and then considering how many states are opening up, go schedule a vaccine appointment.
Do it.
Do it. I'm getting mine, and when this goes up at noon, I'll be getting my first one in 4 hours.
Whoa.
Cool. I'm
Nice.
gonna become a robot.
I'm so proud of you. I'm already a robot.
So yeah, that's going to do it for this week. If you want more from us, go to seasonallanimecheckup.com or sac.cool, where you can find past episodes of this podcast and other podcasts like Seasonal Anime Checkup and Jared Now Watch. You can also find columns and reviews on the site as well. If you want more from Anladium, go to anladium.com. She's got columns and reviews. You can follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/animecheckup. Can buy our books, One Shining Moment, A Critical Analysis of Love, Life, Sunshine, and Hot Tubs and Pac-Man on Amazon.com. And you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/SACOVA. Buy us a slice of pizza. Get access to unedited versions of the podcast early. And you can get access to bonus episodes as well. Like, we did a big list of boy band songs, because why wouldn't you?
Fun.
So you could listen to episodes like that, and then other stuff that we've done on the podcast, like review movies, look at Fatal Fury movies, just dumb stuff.
Yeah, whatever we think is fun at the time.
Basically. Next week, we will probably talk about some other game that we've played recently.
Mm-hmm.
Which one? I don't know, because it's not next week. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I don't know.
So there you go. We'll figure that out.
Yep.
First podcast of April.
Oh, God.
The first podcast of the second quarter of 2021. Yuck.